Richie and I'm a stylist. Lip Talk, it was more about being able to give people an education on how they can do the things that I do and help them to sell their property.
Hi, I'm Nicole Carter. I'm the agent. We're like-minded mums that have kids and we all have our own businesses. Each girl brings something unique and dynamic to the deal.
Hi, my name is Marie Fedorov and I am the lawyer. So Meg is probably the brains behind this whole concept. Our goal is really to educate people about the problems that we come across on a daily basis.
I'm Renee and I'm the broker. Through just sharing our own stories as well as our background and our professional backgrounds, we're not going to just tell you about different policies or different laws. We're going to tell you about how it actually becomes a part of your life and how your day-to-day living is how it actually fits in with that.
And it's actually going to appeal to different types of people, whether they're first home buyers, whether they're moms. It just feels like you're working with your best friends. So it's got a real good vibe to it and I think we all feel really comfortable. Welcome to Lip Talk. We're here today with my colleagues and friends and we're going to talk about preparing your home for sale. So what better way to start the audio off with Renee. So Renee, why are you selling your home?
It's been a long decision, so it hasn't come overnight. We've been on a bit of a journey with my daughter who, it's taken a few years to recognise, but she's got ADHD. So and it's been very difficult for us through schooling or through, activities outside of school to keep her quite active or her interested. And the one thing that we have found that she is really passionate about and that has kept her focus is a horse. I know everyone says we're absolutely crazy to buy a horse, sell your house, why not go and adjust somewhere, go and ride on the neighbour's horse somewhere down the track. However, we are, as we all are, full-time working mums. We have our own businesses, we are running kids around, so to do an adjustment with a horse wouldn't be a benefit for our daughter because we can't get there, we can't go there. We have to have somewhere where I can still work from home if she's there. So it's been a very, very big decision because we're leaving a beautiful home that we've spent, nearly 6 years. We put a lot of blood, sweat and tears personally into it. So it's a very, very, very big decision to do that. But it's for the benefit of her that we can see it's a one thing that, is going to really help her and benefit her, which is why I've had to make that decision.
So how has the process been for you from when you decided to where you're at today? Obviously, you had photos and everything taken yesterday. Is that right,
yes,
Nicole?
It's very current. We were at the property yesterday and a lot of preparation has taken place. So
a lot of preparation.
Plenty.
What have you done, Renee?
So much work has gone into, as probably everyone. You live your day-to-day lives. My husband is a builder, however, your home is the last priority. So there's lots of bits and pieces, and thank you for lending us your husband, Marie, during this time.
That's okay, I'll get you back
because he has,
later.
we'll repay the favour later. But it's been a lot of work. So obviously we want to maximise our sale profit. We don't just want to move for no reason and go backwards for doing it. So we want to make sure it's presented in a great, to maximise the profit we're going to get out of it as well. So it's been a lot of work. We've redone decks, we've repainted inside walls because having 2 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, 3 chickens.
The wear and tear.
Yes, we had a snake visit the other night, but we've it's been a lot of work to get it to where it is. And obviously working full time, running kids around at the same time, you're doing this all aside of that. So,
yes. And how long has that process taken?
It's been a long decision to get to, yes, we're going to do it. Then we were going to do it and we were drawing it out, not committing to getting everything done. So we said to Nicole, who's our fabulous agent, who's going to get us that maximum price that we want. So off her advice too, what we need to do, we set a date. And so it's about a month we sort of set it out and said, even though it just falls before Christmas, which is not great timing either. However, it still gives us an opportunity to capture people looking to relocate down south. So we really looked at that side as well and think, well, it's still, a benefit actually going on the market before Christmas. So we set a date and we've committed to that. So it's about a month that we've done it, which is,
And did you set a budget for your, the cost of getting the property ready?
We didn't set a budget. I'm in finance, but not great at budgets. But
Love that.
yes, we didn't set a budget because we knew there was things we were going to do anyway if we're going to be there. So it's not just for sale. So if we don't happen to sell or it doesn't, come off as we're expecting it's going to, we've done things we were going to do if we're going to stay there anyway.
So Renee, you mentioned that you've obviously been preparing the property for sale. So can you just talk our listeners through what you actually did to prepare the home for sale? Like, what did you do?
And I'll probably talk on two sides here. So as a broker, what you would do for going forward, but also what we've done personally on our home ourselves. So I would also suggest, which is what we have already done, make sure if we're going to sell, what we're going to get out of it can get us into where we want to go next. So you really need to plan. So before you even go and make any decisions, do that first. So make sure you're actually going to be able to get to that end goal. Otherwise, gosh, where do I start around the house of what we've done? Obviously, there's the works that needed to be finished. So we've redone decks. So we've had trades around. We've had trades come in and quote, trades who could just make it as well, because it is quite difficult, location-wise, to get someone to come and do a small job. So we've had to fit that in and get trades as well when we can.
Did you have someone help you work out that plan? Like, is that where Meg came in to help you work out what needed to be done, or you had a list and you already knew?
Yep. We personally had a list because we've been living there for so long. We knew what needed to be fixed. We got our real estate agent in because we wanted to know what do buyers want, what else, should we do anything else. However, Meg then comes in and does all the finishes touches, help me to make any suggestions of finishing any rooms, decorating them, what's going to look great in the photos as well, because we're trying to appeal to any market. We're trying to go down south before they come up here. They're not, here, so they're looking at their first impressions is those photos.
Yeah.
So when I went to look at Renee's house, obviously because Nicole and I already work together, and this doesn't happen for all of our listeners, so you might have an agent that might come out and value the property but doesn't necessarily give you any other advice, or maybe they give you different advice. So I felt in your case it was just a case of coming in on top of Nicole and then just making the place look pretty for the photographs, as opposed to going through those detailed questions and list of jobs that actually needed to be doing, because most agents don't offer that such detailed advice. So Nicole, I'm sure you've got something to say about this.
Yes, when we had our initial meeting about pricing the property and setting a deadline in terms of taking it to the marketplace, we went through what were the key essentials we needed to do in order to maximise our profit and not overspend. Because I do have a lot of clients who sometimes can overspend and then expect to recoup that money straight away. So we did go through a list together with Renee and her husband and discuss what our plan of action would be. We set a deadline and we worked towards that, and we knew at that time we would photograph the home and everything has to be ready then, and then we go to the market.
It's funny you say that, actually, Nicole. I only met with a client of my own at work this week that they came in because they wanted to buy an investment property. We really turned things on the head because of looking at the whole overall picture of it. So they decided then that, well, actually maybe they would sell their property and then buy a new one themselves. But they wanted to do a couple of things themselves, and I really did recommend, I said, go and see a local agent who's quite prominent in your area first, because you don't want to overcapitalise on your property either.
Yes.
So I said to them, it's very important, even though you can get this cash out, we can give you this now, you might not want to spend that because you might not recoup that full amount.
Yes.
And that's a really interesting topic, because only this week Nicole's actually had me go out to see a client. That client has actually had 4 real estate agents go into that property.
Wow.
And the story behind this one is that Nicole and another real estate agent are in the front running, and that main reason was because those 2 agents both gave the client advice on staging the property, but also doing a bit of work to the property because it needed a little bit of work. And the other 2 agents that actually went into that property, one agent said, I wouldn't bother changing the carpets because furniture will disguise that. And the other agent actually said, yeah, I'd probably change the carpets and maybe do a bit of painting, but then you don't need to bother about staging the property. So I'm just interested to know, like, what your feeling on that would be, having, our listeners listening to that kind of advice. Obviously, we're directing them to a real estate agent, but sometimes a real estate agent gives different advice to another real estate agent.
Yeah. So, like, what made you choose Nicole as your agent?
Well, I guess we've dealt with Nicole in the past. So Nicole has sold, before we were actually friends, has sold property for us, and we were very happy with the results. So, you know, and obviously off the back of that, we became good friends. And Nicole's been very successful in the area. So we don't doubt, just because we're friends, we're doing it. She has been very successful in her other businesses in the area. So there's no doubt that we're not going to get a great result out of it. No pressure, Nicole. No pressure at all. Yes, but I think it's so important, like you said. You actually have to talk to so many people. You can't just rely on one person. That person's coming in and tell you the right thing. So don't be afraid. I know Nicole would say they're going to talk to other agents. It's not going to be one agent you're going to talk to, and they're going to make the decision off the back of that, of the service they're going to offer or other resources they're going to introduce to them, which is exactly the same in my business. We deal with conveyancing solicitors, we deal with building and pest inspectors, and our customers trust us so much that we can recommend those services for them. And we don't give them just one person because that's who they should deal with, that's who we get paid by. We actually do it because we actually deal with them on a daily basis and know they're going to treat our clients the same as we do. So it's just very important to surround yourself with resources that you can trust and you know that's going to get a positive
And I think
outcome for you.
especially with your home, it's your biggest asset. So you will compare, you will ensure you have got the right professionals on the job, you've done your homework. This is not a $20 shirt at Target we can take back if we're unhappy. So the journey and the process is very emotional that we go through. And I often say that to my sellers. It's so easy for me to stick up a signboard. I can do that in 2 minutes. But it's not about that. It's preparing the home so we don't set you up for failure. It's ensuring that we've done everything possible to get you that top price in the current marketplace.
And as a current seller, can I tell you, we did market research ourselves. So we had a look what else was for sale in the area, what did they sell for, how long they're on the market for. We then obviously had a chat behind the scenes with our husband about what agent we're going to use, and we all concluded to Nicole. But then we also just decided what works. We did ourselves first, come up with what works do we think, but then obviously went and got the additional advice from everyone else that we're going to be using through the process.
Did you get multiple agents in? Or had you already made a decision on, like, was that part of the plan?
Well, don't tell Nicole, but...
No, it's just interesting. Obviously, we all know that Nicole's really strong in her area, but referring back to the client that I was talking to you about just a second ago, like, most agents, from my perspective, will get like 2 or 3 agents in. And some clients I speak to, they're adamant they're going to use this particular agent. So that's great. Like, imagine if we could tell those individual agents that you were the only person they chose. Yes. Like, why did you choose Nicole?
And I know the other agent you're talking to, and I am friends with her as well. So, and think she's extremely successful in the area as well. But Nicole, it was never doubt for us to go with Nicole. Just from past dealings, we've had that past dealing and had a success out of the sale that we had. So we just had no doubts that we're not going to get to where we want to be, and that Nicole's not going to do the right thing for us.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know from experience the 3 biggest stresses are death, divorce and moving. So it's certainly up there. In terms of your personal life, we all have businesses. I know my experience with dealing with Renee, even with myself. You run your business all day, you try and be there for your husband, for your children, you get home in the evening, you don't have much time, you've got to still start packing boxes and go through the emotional journey of kids, we're moving home, it's going to be exciting. Maybe it's not going to be exciting. Maybe we haven't found a home as yet. So you have to keep this happy face on for the entire family that this is the right decision for all of us. So Renee, I'm sure you've already experienced that, telling your kids, why are we doing this?
I was trying very hard not to get emotional about this. It's very hard, to be completely honest. It's a very difficult decision. We've done it because of obviously having issues with our daughter.
It's okay.
And you're making the best decision for her and the family on this journey, right?
So Renee basically is our girlfriend, and between us all, we've been trying to support her through this really long battle with her eldest daughter, Lily, who we all love very much. Our listeners will be able to refer to, this situation that sometimes you've built your dream home. It's what you wanted from scratch. You and your husband have built it. you brought pets into the family, and in this particular situation, all of those things are just not as important enough for her situation with Lily. So, you know, if Renee's happy to, like, you know, tell our listeners what it is that's made you come to this absolutely enormous decision.
Well, Lily's not only had ADHD, it's been anxiety as well. So it's been very difficult to find something that she's interested in or makes her happy.
Yeah.
Even though we think we have a lovely family environment, which we do, we have a beautiful home, which we've actually built ourselves. A lot of work we put into ourselves. Like, I do remember turfing our whole house, which is an acre block. So I remember having, cramps in my hands for 2 days after trying to go to work and type, and I couldn't do it because my hands were so cramped from turfing the block. So there's been a lot of blood, sweat and tears put into this property, so it is hard. And our kids say too, the kids say when we look at other properties, they're like, we have a beautiful home, so, you know, it's going to be hard to change. But, you know, obviously we created it, so I just, you know, but try and reinforce that we created it. But
tell us about Lily and how you, when you see her with horses, how does that make you feel?
Well, that is the whole reason we're doing it, is because we have very struggled to find something. And, you know, we have tried netball, we've tried, you know, through psychologists, paediatricians, we have the Department of Education involved because she's so unhappy at school as well. But her passion has been having a horse, as mine was as a young child, but my parents are smart enough not to get one involved.
But ultimately, the reason you're moving is because your property doesn't allow you to have a horse.
Why can't you have a horse there? Why can't you?
We absolutely have the space to have a horse. However, in a body corporate estate, which the bylaws are that you're unable to house a horse there. So we do have to find somewhere where we can have a horse. Yeah.
And we had this discussion, what are our other alternatives? And there weren't really too many, bar you staying there with your family, and that's just the way it is. Suck it up, mum or dad, you know. And really you've made this decision with your family, and that's why we have these meetings behind the scenes. It's not an easy decision for anybody in terms of selling. Sometimes it takes months, and we've been talking months behind the scenes in terms of what is it we're actually doing. So we got to this decision and realisation, well, the only way to do this is to sell and move on to another property that can accommodate.
And truthfully, there is so much work involved when you've been there for 5 or 6 years to get your house ready for sale. So on top of your day job, both of you, husband and wife, working full time, having kids, still running around and trying to meet their commitments and keeping them happy, it's a lot of work.
So how did you manage that?
Well, we would be laying turf at 10 o'clock at night still, out putting topsoil because our new puppy that we decided to get 6 weeks
Can
out
you just
from a
tell?
move.
Can you just tell our listeners, please, about the puppy school that you sent your puppies to because they were digging the garden up? Can you just tell everyone about that?
So we're
Because
selling
we
a
were
house to keep our daughter happy, yet we got a puppy to keep our son happy. So how do you win? You do everything for your kids. Everything you do is for your kids. It's so true. But because it's a puppy, he lovely chewed the bottom of our stairs up, which we can't replace a sisal on there, just 2 weeks prior to our sale. So, and digging up some holes obviously in the front yard. So we've had to put them, lovely doggy daycare down the road. So we're dropping him off every day to try and ensure the grass is nice and
how do they
perfect
report back
and
to
green.
you?
And
tell the listeners how they were reporting back to you.
You should see the photos. You should see the photos I got. I do text her saying, I want to come home. He's having swims with her. They're going on walks. They're doing GPS tracking of where they're actually walking.
The route of the walk.
There's like 12 other dogs there, so he is loving it. Yes.
Can we just give a shout out to that puppy school? Because I didn't even know puppy school existed.
Ridgeview. She is fantastic. It's lovely.
Okay.
Yeah. Louise is doing a great job.
Yeah. So, a new one for us, puppy school, whilst you're renovating or fixing up your house.
Yes.
I'll have to add that one to our list of suppliers.
Definitely.
Yes, definitely. So did you use Nicole's list, how to prepare your home for sale?
Absolutely. Even down to, I didn't even realise you had to clean a dishwasher with vinegar and bicarb soda to make it sparkling clean.
Really?
So I did actually not realise that. And purely Nicole was sharing that first off to show us for content for Lip Talk. However, it's gold. We cleaned our gutters out. I thought, gosh, I didn't actually even think about cleaning our gutters out. So we did that. But obviously, once again, we're doing all this on top of our day job. So we're cleaning paths, we're painting walls, cleaning marks, because I've got a 7-year-old son who's Spider-Man and climbs up with hands and feet up the walls.
I've seen him climb the front door.
And it's then taps the roof and, swings, what are those things
He's a
called?
monkey.
Slime up on the roof.
Oh, yeah.
So I was at Renee's the other day, and there was like jelly Spider-Man stuck to her newly freshly painted ceiling.
There we go.
Trying to renovate.
But then I'm on the phone to the
fix
painter.
up.
I said, you know how you're only here? And he said, we hadn't have to come back. You have to come back next week. Please come back.
And then there was the feature walls. Meg said, "Oh, you've got to change the feature walls," and she's like, "Oh, but the painter's gone. Oh, but he's going to have to come back." Yeah.
And secretly I was devastated because I actually picked that out of a magazine. I thought, my house looks like a magazine and Meg's going to love it. She comes in and goes, oh, it's not going to appeal to everyone. But I love the honesty. You need that because you want to appeal. You want to actually open your market up to everyone. But I was quite upset.
But how does it look now?
It looks. I was so happy with the outcome and glad I listened. But I was so upset that I'm like, oh, there goes my blue walls in the bedroom. And
Oh, don't worry, she did that to me as well. She did.
But from Nicole's point of view, obviously, you've obviously had that behind the scenes. This is what we're going to do. This is what you need to do, and all of that. How did the property then present for you when you did the photo shoot yesterday? Do you want to talk to our listeners about what the difference it made from your perspective and the photographers?
Absolutely. And it was a huge difference because when you walk through the property, obviously decluttering, we all have kids, we all have toys lying around, crayons, paintings, whatever. We have to get rid of those. We have to get rid of all the, at this time of year, Christmas cards the kids are giving you all on the fridge, all those things we have to now declutter and look like you don't live there, but you do live there. So we went through that process together. And when we arrived yesterday, it really looked amazing. It made a huge difference.
And if anyone knows me, I love Christmas. So our Christmas tree was already up.
The Christmas
and
tree
Nicole
was
told me-
removed.
Made me take the Christmas tree down. So that was a very
thank
sad
God.
moment as well.
It's
Ours goes up before November.
It was
it's
up.
ready,
It was
prepared.
up already. So we had to do a lot of preparation, taking into account if this goes through to January, we don't want Christmas trees around or any decor that will relate to that. So it made a huge difference by the time we got there. But it was 4 weeks planning, never mind a few months prior to get it to the stage. You don't just pitch on day one and photograph the property. So we did do a lot of behind the scenes, and it was great. By the time everyone got there yesterday, all our photographers and videographer, it made a huge difference. They were pretty blown away, so well worth it.
And Renee, what were you doing whilst Nicole and her team were taking video of your place?
And I'll tell you a story leading into that before I get to that one. But right, so I had my rubbish bag because I've run around done the last things. I knew it was 3 o'clock, 3:05. I had to be out there by 3, but I'm still running back. So I've got all the toilet brushes. I've got all the toilet brushes out of the toilets. Put the bag. I had a rubbish bag, but I put it on the end of the kitchen bench, and unfortunately there was a leak in the bag.
Oh.
So just where I'm walking out, I'm going, what is this water? It was
all over our clean
the toilet
fresh
brushes.
bench, yes.
So that was fun as well. On the kitchen, so I just told Nicole when she comes out for dinner next, I will be disinfecting prior to that.
I was just going to ask, like, completely different to this conversation, but when you went about the marketing and choosing what you were going to do, Nicole, obviously Renee's in a gated complex, we know.
Yes.
I've always had like difference of opinions on that, how hard it is to get an agent inside a gated complex, and then for the homeowner to let people in. Like, how do you go about managing that as an agent and open homes?
Yes, we had this discussion because our first open home is actually on Saturday. So with this particular complex, sometimes you can put up a sign where you have a code and you can access the property. In this instance, you can't. So we came up with a strategy really of there would be a number up which you could dial, and that would go through to Renee. Renee would open the gates and I'd be waiting on the inside. That was the most logical way to do it. Yeah. So that's what we've decided.
But I will go back to the story of where we were when we had to get out of our house for, how many hours were we? 4 hours.
4 hours.
So I was still in my cleaning gear, Havianas, shorts that were too short because I'm just at home, it's so hot. Anyway, so Nicole had to pick the kids up. I was 20 minutes late. Poor kids were on the street by themselves when I went past to pick them up. So I took them to the movies. They want to go to the movies. And then my husband finished work, picked the dogs up and said, look, I really could use a drink. So into Dan
Understandably.
Murphy's. Into Dan Murphy's. And he's like, look, there's a little park just across from Dan Murphy's. So I'm like, okay, I'll get pizza on the way. So we're in the back of a ute with pizza boxes
And dogs.
a
Rum and
can
Coke.
of rum and Coke, which I'm not awfully proud of, but quite needed that after a whole day of cleaning and
that's
dealing
what
with the stress
happens.
of getting ready.
That's reality, though.
It was.
Absolutely.
It was.
And we're all, you're
Yes.
all juggling it, and myself included, because I have 2 kids as well. So my husband's at home trying to juggle them and homework and dinner. Well, I'm out at the photo shoot making sure the house is all perfect so I can just rush home to see my kids for 5 minutes before they go down to bed. And like I said to Renee, you race in, you're feeling guilty, you be gone for sort of 12, 13 hours and they barely lift their head up to you.
They didn't go
And you're like, hi, mom's home. How was school? And no one's excited to see you. And you're thinking, why have I rushed home? That's it. So I think for all of us working moms who have male champions behind us, as I like to call them, our husbands are certainly there assisting us while we are outside doing our business. They have to manage the house, especially when there's no help. Like for a lot of us here, we don't have any help. We have
None of
no
us do,
family.
actually. None of us
That's true.
close by.
Yes. So we have to rely on our hubby so we can go and do our jobs, which sometimes involve extra hours at night time.
Yeah. Australian dream as far as I'm concerned. She and Aaron have built this incredible party house.
It's amazing. It is a good party house.
If I can just explain to
Family
you what
home,
it looks
supposed to
like
be.
from a stylist point of view. So if anyone remembers our listeners' Desperate Housewives, it was one of my all-time favourite programmes. And that will show my age.
Not at all.
And, the white picket fence, the pink bougainvillea, the beautiful inside of the house, everything being white and lots of pink flowers inside. So the ultimate dream house. We've had lots of gatherings there. Our children love going there. My daughter knows she can't misbehave in the way that she does at Renee's house. And I think the girls feel the same. From Ollie surfboarding down the staircase in the front porch to
my son and Ollie dancing on the coffee table.
It wasn't just the kids doing that.
To my kids,
I think Meg might have been up there as well.
my kids always saying, Mummy, our house is so boring compared to Renee's. And I thought, what are they talking about? Till I came into your house and then Ollie was on his scooter going down the staircase and then was dancing on the dining room table. And my 5-year-old said, Mommy, this is the sort of house I want to live in. So they are also very sad you're selling.
Yes.
Can we also just briefly mention there about the axe throwing at the last party we had at your house?
We do live in the woods, so it's very close to the house.
That was a bit
No one was
scary,
injured
wasn't
during
it?
that.
Yes, just to our listeners, no one was injured
wasn't
during
an
that process,
an
but it was...
Oktoberfest party.
We did have an
That was
Oktoberfest party.
acceptable.
Yeah, so we're going to miss having our around the world dinners at Renee and Aaron's place because the kids love it and we love it too. So
But the layout was so good as well in that you've got, we were all down one end of the house and we had the kids down the other end with the babysitter, so we didn't have to worry about them either. So I found that was quite good. It's a really good entertainer, that's
Well,
for
it's
sure.
nice to hear this feedback because we obviously designed it to be very practical and to
Yeah.
enjoy living. We want to, you're only young for so many years. The kids are only young. They're not going to want to know us soon. So a house is to be interactive and to not get too upset that they're going to wreck the floors or to the walls. Or I do remember the plaster being there one time to fix the wall, that hole in the wall that Ollie had made. He was standing there talking to the plaster with his skateboard and flicked the skateboard back and put another hole in another wall. So thankfully, I'm just like, when you finish there, can you just finish there, please? Start there.
Renee, so you had this dream block of land and that's how you started down this journey really on building your dream home. So how was the whole process when you first started?
I'll probably take it back a little bit because we relocated from Cairns to the Gold Coast, and growing up we were so fortunate in Cairns. The properties are quite large, so to come and have to be in suburbia and to have a small block and have neighbours very close was a difficult thing for us to understand. So when we actually found this block of land, we thought we'd hit gold. We're very fortunate to come across it. However, obviously it was quite large, so we couldn't straight away get exactly what we wanted to put on there that would actually do the block justice. So we actually did on stages. We really, we could see this vision at the beginning of it, that this is what we could do. The other houses in the estate were amazing, but we couldn't afford that straight away. So we had to go back and think, well, what should we do? And being, thankfully we're builders ourselves, so we can probably do a lot ourselves that would save money as well. But we started with a bit of a shell, no landscaping, no gardens, no fences, having a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old at that time, 2 dogs. It's not ideal, having windows closed for about 18 months because we didn't have any turf down and the dirt just flying against them. We just had to not see that for a little while. So it's barely been a labour of love to try and get to where it is now. And we've gone through so many different stages that, can we afford to keep building onto this to make it what we want to be? Do we have to move at that time? However, we really just did stick it out and just gradually, as we could, we've just put what we can into it and gradually built on it to make it what it is, which, obviously having that as well, we've done a lot of the work ourselves. So we're very emotionally tied to it, and we've just worked so hard. Well, we have all our money goes into that, so we've worked so hard and everything goes into it. So we're extremely attached to it. Which is obviously why it makes it slightly a harder decision, and to make sure it's the right one to do to make that move, because we are in a now position where we're so happy that it's got everything that we've ever wanted, ever dreamt, that it's going to suit our family. It's obviously we make changes as the kids grow, but it's everything that we hoped it would be now. So it's a bit harder right now to let go than what it would have been 3 years ago.
And I think that's life, and I've experienced this with a lot of families when they have to sell their dream homes or something happens in the family. Someone gets sick, someone has to go interstate, divorce. We have plenty of those, unfortunately, today. That's a death. So suddenly that playing field has changed, and you have to now uproot the entire family to go on a new journey. So I think the decision you've made is not a lifelong decision. It's just the phase you're in at the moment, and that's what you have to do.
Well, that's what I've said to the kids. We built this and made this, so they're sad as well, even though we know, and they know they're going to get a horse at the end of it, or they know we promised our son a motorbike. So, which, they know they've got these things, but they're still very sad to leave the home as well. They are very sad. They said, they love it here. Son's out feeding kookaburras in the backyard. We have kangaroos come up to the back, deck. We see the most beautiful different species of birds every morning. We literally lay in bed and watch them for half an hour before we get out of bed, because it is such a beautiful spot as well. So, we just say that we actually created this, and we'll do that again, and we'll start again we won't get into this the next house we buy. We're so well aware of that, which makes it hard as well. But it's going to be years before it comes to that. But we just say we did this, we created it, and we'll do it again.
Yeah.
So knowing what you've been through and you've gone through and the change and the new chapter that's coming in your life, are you prepared for that? Do you know what is coming?
I know what's coming. I don't know if I'm 100% prepared for it, but I really do know, especially in the area we're in. I know we've actually never bought an established house. We've always bought land and built from brand new. Builders in our background, my family are builders, so we've always built a brand new home. Even growing up, the majority of the time was always coming into brand new homes, which means it's not always doesn't mean it's going to be the flashiest or biggest house on the street. It means it's what we've set or what we've designed. It suits our family at that time, at that stage. So it's going to be a very difficult adaptation, because we're going to buy an established home. It's not going to be exactly what we want. We're going to have to move into it. We're not going to renovate straight away. So it's going to be a big adaptation, even for not just us. Obviously, as adults, it's probably easier, but for the kids as well to do that is going to be probably difficult for them as well. And I guess that's just how, expectations going in, thinking that you're going to go from exactly what you have to the same again. You just have to think life is going to throw you curveballs, that you're going to do the right thing for your family. It's not actually about, a house is materialistic at the end of the day. It is a home where you're going to call home, but at the end of the day, it is, as long as you're all together is number one, priority, and that you're happy. So it literally doesn't matter where it starts from. I think you just have to know that you can make it. You've done that in the past. You can do it again. It doesn't matter how long it takes. You can do it again.
So what advice would you give to our listeners if they are thinking about, one, their dream home, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it's going to offer to their family, but also building a home? Like what sort of advice might you be able to give to them?
Yeah, some tips.
Well, probably the ideal family home is different for everyone. So it's your absolute individual circumstances. It's where you live, what you can find in your area. Your ideal home could be just that it's walking distance for the kids to get to school. It doesn't have to be because it's a 6-bedroom home with a pool room that we can have Oktoberfest parties at. It can be absolutely anything. It's your personal circumstances that makes it your dream home, and what suits you and your family. So I don't think there's one answer to that question. I think it's really tailored to every person individually.
Thank you for listening in and being a part of our first episode. If you're interested in Renee's story, and thank you to Renee for sharing that with us today, then feel free to subscribe to our channel. We'll also be all over social media, so feel free to follow us on social media, and you'll be able to see that all below in our show notes. High five, girls!
Yeah, woo! Cheers!